What's going on, everybody? Tuning in a glum Monday morning, evening, afternoon, whatever the heck time it is. Kyle Kramer in the comments. All I know is pain recently. We're going to dive into the tape a little bit here. We're going to dive into some comments that John Harbaugh made and continue talking about what the hell is going on as the Baltimore Ravens start out 0-2. Make sure to like and subscribe. Please join us on YouTube. Would love that if possible. And let's get into it, man. I mean, again, we talked about it on the podcast. Falele struggling. The rotation at tackle. Got on, watched the tape, and it was worse than I thought. We were going to do about 8 minutes of tape here, break it down, and get through it. We're going to talk about Ben Cleveland. We're going to talk about Daniel Falele. We're going to talk about Harbaugh's comments. We can start with John Harbaugh's comments. We had Jeff Zrebiak tweeting out, if Ben Cleveland had earned the job, he would be the starting right guard. He didn't beat out Daniel. Ben knows what he needs to do if he wants playing time. Our evaluation right now is that Daniel outplayed Ben. I don't know when he outplayed Ben. He didn't do it last season when Ben Cleveland played at right guard against the Dolphins when the Ravens scored 56 points. Maybe it was left guard. Maybe Zeitler played right guard. Played guard, and he didn't do it in Week 18 when Cleveland did play right guard and didn't allow a pressure. So if we can just isolate those two things, we can isolate 2 games of Cleveland, 0 pressures allowed, 0 sacks allowed, 2 games of Falele, falling down, stumbling, bumbling, tripping, like we're about to get into. Where's the evaluation, John? Who is evaluating what? Is it games that we're evaluating? No, it's impossible. The reports and rumors or whatever you want to call it is that the Ravens don't really like Cleveland. The reports coming out as a prospect, if you read Dane Brugler's The Beast, were that scouts were concerned if Cleveland likes football or likes what comes with football. And I get that as a coach. I've coached. It was younger youth football. And if someone's lazy, you don't want to play them. This is the NFL. These are grown men. And that grown man, Ben Cleveland, went into the game, got you through it. You scored 50 points with him on the field. Played well against the Steelers. Falele is struggling. The Ravens aren't doing him any favors. Let's just hop into the tape at this point. I'm going to share my screen here, and you guys will see tape. I've clipped some things getting through. And the biggest thing to me is that when they made big plays, it was in spite of Falele. This is the second play of the game. Christian Wilkins in his face. McCary comes out as the starter. Christian Wilkins wins this gap so easily and so cleanly. Spillane is the one who makes the play, but he just gets around him. Look at Falele's back. We always see this. We always see the flat back because he's bending at his hips, but his knees are upright because he's 11 feet tall, and he doesn't naturally bend that well. So just on the second play, I already said, oh, wow. Christian Wilkins immediately had his way with him. And you don't notice this when you're watching on the broadcast. I was at the game. You don't notice this. Oh, they stuffed a run. Spillane makes a tackle. But he's immediately whipping him. Now, lack of play action was brought up at the press availability as well. The Ravens had 12.5% play action rate, 12.8, pardon me. And that's not going to help. That's what we like to call a compounding issue. So I'm not positive here. I'm going to make an ass of you and me and say that this was going to be a run play. We see Lamar changing it, and that's great. That's what we want Lamar to do, right? That's why they brought in Monken, so that he can run his own offense. You're paying him $250 million. And now this isn't on Lamar. Maybe you have a note with Lamar. And again, maybe this was going to be a straight drop back anyway. I don't think so based on the formation, but I could be wrong there. So he changes the play. Justice Hill walks out wide. I already know this is a pass because of how wide Justice Hill is. Maybe they run bash. Don't think so. And you see Bateman extend out as well. That tells me there's a 2-man route concept, maybe a protection delay immediately in the shift. So, okay, we change the play. Now, Crosby's super wide here, and this isn't on Falele. This is the first sack of Crosby. Crosby's super wide now. He's got a runway. And Andrews was over here, and I'm going to guess that this was a run play. He's not going to chip, though, so you're giving Crosby early a runway against McCary. And McCary, I think, is a fine average tackle. I mean, average in a good way. But by the time he gets to the top of his drop, he meaning Lamar, he can't even get the ball out. So Lamar changed to the right concept for the coverage because, look, there's space everywhere. And Flowers is going to settle into it right up at the top here. He's settling right into the space. Awesome. Can't throw it there. You're getting sacked. You didn't help out on Crosby. Okay. So not Falele here. It's not all Falele. A lot of it is. More than I even thought of it was when I checked the tape. But so many times there was pressure at the top of the drop back before he can even hitch and throw, especially late in the game. So we see the runway Crosby gets. Andrews goes out. Crosby's just a better athlete. He's going to win a lot of those. He wins right through him. He couldn't get enough depth. When you give Crosby that runway, he's an unbelievably explosive athlete. So the real common denominator here is stunts. And we're going to see Voorhees get away with a trip. You see him kick. Lamar gets the ball out really quick. No drop back. It was you can call that a one step, a zero step. There's no drop back. And Lamar fires the ball to the right spot, gets him into field goal range. He is karate kicking Crosby because these guards don't know that if your tackle goes away from you, every time we see this tackle move away, when they don't rush you and close space, someone else is every single time. So you have to trip it. So in spite of guard play, enough gain to go kick a field goal. Now, finally, they start working in some play action. I think they had 5 play action passes, if I'm not mistaken, which generated a 0.9 EPA per play. That's very high. For those of you who don't know, that's a very high EPA rate. Very, very high, Jim. So now we see play action. Okay, pistol. Ravens are averaging 7 yards a carry out of pistol. Henry's been awesome out of pistol. Oh, can Henry play pistol? Yes. Play action. The rushers, we see Isaiah Likely chipping. Okay, awesome. The D tackle gets up into Falele. This is the one thing Falele can do is just absorb a bull rush. That's great. He can do that. He's so big and strong. So now, top of the drop, there's time and space. Look at the pocket we get here. Look at what we see. And wow, the mechanics are great. The throw's great. It's an explosive pass play. It's clean because you ran play action. Wow. Play action helps us protect the passer when we have a struggling offensive line. Wouldn't you know it? So let's chip Crosby. Let's get McCary a head start so he doesn't have to worry about speed to the outside. See, he's up, he's ready, he's moving, and he absorbs Crosby. Clean, easy, play action. Would you look at that? Awesome. Need more play action. They talked about it. They want more play action. They'll fix that immediately. Bam. But they went away from it. We'll see a couple more clips just because I want to contrast. Now let's contrast with empty. Oh, no play action. Maybe a QB draw. But nothing. And so you get one-on-one here with Rosengarten, who does great. Played really well. And then Wilkins on Falele. Middle of the field, wide open. And this ends up being a huge gain because of how special Lamar Jackson is. So we take time at the line. The middle of the field's vacated. Flowers is wide open. This could be a touchdown. But guess what? Falele lost before you could even get there. The DB down at the bottom's turned. The other safety has a lot of ground to cover. Zay Flowers is really shifty. This might be a fucking touchdown. Instead, Lamar has to throw across the field, even my dog's groaning, across the field, across his body to make a play. You can't run after the catch. You're out of rhythm. You got to do something special. Simply because this guy can't even get in the way. He lunges. Look how cleanly he lost and how quickly he lost. Then he's grabbing his jersey, pushing him in the back. That's a penalty. That's a penalty. He gets away with it, blocks him right in his back. And then Lamar has to go throw across his body on the run. So credit to Lamar and Zay Flowers for working open. But Lord have mercy. Here's another stunt, soccer. And Rosengarten actually knocks the piss out of Crosby, which allows this play to happen because Falele watches a tackle go lateral and doesn't think, ding, 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 someone else is coming. Stay where you are. Nope. He completely loses his man. The Ravens are able to convert a first down here in spite of Falele having no clue where to go. In spite of it. Watch how cleanly he loses. This is not anything fancy the Raiders are doing. It's regular. The late sack that Crosby had, this is just regular stuff. His hips are closed. His head isn't turned. And Rosengarten just so happens to bowl Max Crosby into him long enough for Lamar to complete that pass. So pressures. There's no pressure. There was no pressure. So we're like, oh, PFF says that Falele only let up 2 pressures, which is bullshit, number one. Number two, they are making plays in spite of him by accident there. Luckily, Rosengarten happened to get an inside move and bowl his defender. And hey, maybe Lamar could have just ran around the defensive tackle for the 100th time. But you can't play in rhythm. And when you can't play in rhythm, you can't beat good defenses. You're not going to play backyard football and beat good teams consistently. Now let's look at play action by contrast again. Oh, hey, let's motion Ricard into the backfield. Okay. Hey, they might be running the ball. All right, we're just going to try and win our gap. No stunts. Wide open over the middle of the field. Football can be easy. The Saints are running 50% play action while they're beating the shit out of the Cowboys. Hey, Ravens, you didn't run enough play action against the Raiders. Are you going to run 50% play action against the Cowboys? You should. You should run that much play action. The Cowboys don't have good tackles or linebackers. So help your guys out. Play action, easy. 2 easy completions. Falele whips again. Let's watch this one now. Another fun one here. DB, delayed blitz. Sees him coming this time. Can't touch him. Can't put a fucking paw on him. Whiff. But Lamar got the ball out early before Bateman made his break. And Bateman goes and dives and makes the catch. Whiff. In spite of Falele getting cleanly whipped here. And this isn't a pressure either, probably charted. I might not even chart this as a pressure, but it's a fucking blown block and a loss. Watch how cleanly he loses. Knows he's coming, can't touch him because he lunges with 2 hands. No patience. Can't even touch him. I mean, what are we doing, man? Good thing Lamar threw that before Bateman came out of his break and not at the break, which is okay. Now, here's another one. Another stunt. Kohler wide open. Crosby looping. Christian Wilkins goes lateral away from you. Someone else is coming. Someone else is coming. Kohler's wide open. Downfield. 3 minutes left in the game. And by the time Kohler is at that level, unless Lamar made another huge anticipation play, and this is kind of what Matt Stafford has had to deal with throughout his career and has to right now in the Rams. He has to throw it so early that he's basically blind. And watch how Falele's feet are tight. He's upright. His shoulders and hips are closed. You can stay neutral and stick a hand to help McCary, but instead he has to turn his entire hip and get his foot out in order to turn, and it's Max Crosby. And this is tough again. It's Max Crosby. He's the best. As good of a rusher as you can be. But when your hip is upfield and your feet are that closed, you're not going to recover against a 10 out of 10 athlete, against a $140 million all-pro pass rusher. So he touches him, at least made contact as opposed to the last one. This is with the fucking game on the line. And part of this goes back to no play action, not running the ball. Yeah, we have a comment here. This is how Lamar gets a season-ending injury. It is. That is. And that is why what's happening is not just stupid. It's negligent. It is negligently bad. And EDC, the front office, I see on Twitter, obviously I'm way too on Twitter. Hey, EDC, terrible job. I think the answer is on the roster to have an average tackle that can just quiet things down. Just average. That's all you need is just an average tackle. And that's my takeaway here. Does every person in the building have to be the hardest worker just to start? 1 out of 22 guys. You can't have one guy who's kind of lazy, but he's good at football. And, I mean, Josh Jones, another option. McCary, another option. Cleveland clearly isn't going to play. Harbaugh said he knows what he needs to do. Show up at 5 a.m. probably. If Ben Cleveland puts on his Rocky sweatband, and wears the world's largest cutoff sweater and jogs to the facility for the next week, they'll probably start him, but he's not gonna. So they're not going to play him. Josh Jones was terrible at guard. He's horrible too. He's very bad, but he's a more fluid mover. He's played some guard. McCary is awful at guard. He's way better at tackle. I think Ben Cleveland's the answer. You got Parsons. You're going to Parsons' house, and it's going to be loud again. It's pretty loud in Dallas. So how long is this going to go on? Are you going to do it again, John? Again? I don't get it. Their personnel choices are in front of them. The media is asking you about it. You can tell. I don't know, man. Ben Cleveland played and the Ravens dropped 56 points in a big game against the Dolphins. So I don't know what else to say other than wow. I hear little tricklings from time to time. I know the Ravens don't think highly of Cleveland and his work ethic. I know that's the issue. I'm very confident. I would put it at minus 900. That's why Ben Cleveland didn't even get a chance to compete at right guards. Harbaugh says it is evaluation, and he didn't even compete. Or he didn't win. He didn't win. Daniel outplayed him. Outplayed him where? Because he didn't even play right guard. So nothing against Daniel Falele as a person. Nothing against him. You don't need to talk shit to him and go act like a psycho #online. Seems like a hard worker, a good kid. I think he could be a good tackle still. I think he could be pretty solid. A little, another year of development. He's still newer to football. I think he could play some tackle. We saw him play really well against the Bills in Baltimore. It was at 2022. He shut out Von Miller. Von Miller could not do a thing to Falele at tackle. But it's just quicker inside, and they're coming from both directions. He doesn't get it. So maybe he will. This is the other part of my tirade is that let's say Daniel Falele starts to play better. He starts to pick up some stunts. He is still counterproductive as an athlete to the direction that you stepped when you hired Todd Monken, when you brought in Derrick Henry, when you drafted Tyler Linderbaum. He's not versatile. He's not quick enough to get out on screens. He can't reach block in space. He belongs in Greg Roman's system. So here's a great question. I thought they were just going to cut. These are my two thoughts. They're doing what they did with Ben Powers, and they're going to sneaky start him, and that's that. Or they're going to cut him. I don't get it. He's not even an option. So I don't know. I thought they would cut him at this point. So I've always liked John Harbaugh. I thought Mike Macdonald, if you listen to the podcast, I thought it was time. I would rather move on to Mike Macdonald than retain John Harbaugh. The Ravens don't operate that way. They won't do that. But now this feels negligent, and it feels like such a battle of ego and stubbornness. Yeah. We don't even talk about this. Ben Cleveland played for Todd Monken at Georgia. And maybe that goes into it. Maybe Monken doesn't want him playing either. Maybe. But start someone else. McCary. He stinks at guard, but he's not that bad. He loses, but he's in the way. He knows where to be. He's been on this offense for fucking years. So, I don't know. John is old. I think he's the second oldest head coach in the NFL. It feels like the spirit has gone out of him. But then I can just still feel the intent of this is still young, angry John. And they brought Harbaugh in 15 years ago because the Ravens locker room was out of control. Billick lost the locker room. So that's why they brought John in to fight back and take the locker room back. And then there's these articles. Jimmy Smith says that he's no longer a player's coach. He's no longer a disciplinarian. He's a player's coach, and he's gotten softer. But then there's this Ben Cleveland thing. And you can just feel that there's that hardo still there. The Chiefs, who we just can't stop talking about. The NFL is the Ravens just played them. The Bengals game's a huge game. All these things. The Chiefs in the Super Bowl trusted Kadarius Toney, who everyone says is really lazy and doesn't show up to practice. And he won them a Super Bowl. Sometimes you don't need the hardest working guy. You need someone that can get the job done. Football is just a sport. At the end of the day, it's just a sport, and sometimes people are better at sports than others without working that hard. And I think Ben Cleveland is a better right guard without working as hard than Daniel Falele. And maybe you can come back to Falele. Maybe you could say, okay, we played you 2 games. The Panthers just bench Bryce Young. They're going to come back to him later. Now he's got some shit to work on. Daniel Falele has got some shit to work on. See if you can quicken up your feet, recognize stunts a little quicker. Let's mix it up. You mix up tackle all the time. That's what they asked about. What are you going to do? Double rotate? Then you're going crazy. Double rotations? It's like some video game shit. It just is such a lack of awareness. Not using play action. Not running the ball late. Rotating tackles. Straight dropbacks. And starting the wrong guy. If you're going to start someone who needs help, run play action. Don't run as many straight dropbacks. Don't rotate tackles. Run the football. I don't think it's hard to figure out. I really don't. And I don't know as much as them. I never will. But it feels like this one's really easy. It feels really easy. It feels like a little apple that you can just grab up and pick and take a bite out of. Low-hanging fruit. Play someone else. Run the ball a little more. Run more play action. Be really intentional about it. You'll win more games. You might be 1-1. You might be 2-0. Fucking strip sack and a sack. You gave the ball to the Chiefs because Falele can't get his hands on Chris Jones. And then Max Crosby puts you in 2nd and 19 backed up to your own 10-yard line because Falele doesn't know he's coming. And you didn't help him out. Help him out. Help out Falele if you're going to play him. If you're going to keep playing him, run more play action. Run the ball a little more. I don't have anything else to say here. Like and subscribe. Would love to have you on YouTube. Easiest way to support the pod. I have about 100 on YouTube, about 900 on Twitter. Appreciate everyone. Lamar Jackson's first 3-game losing streak of his career. Here's the other question. Why did the Ravens trade Moses and not re-sign Zeitler if Cleveland was so bad? And it feels like they're very siloed. And what I mean by that is that they looked at each player independently. Kevin Zeitler, they said they didn't like his medicals, so they let him go. Morgan Moses, they wanted to move on and get younger and maybe a little bit more fleet of foot. So you did that. Rosengarten. Tackle, I'm fine at tackle. I'm fine starting McCary at tackle. I really genuinely am. I think that's fine. He's average. That's fine. But you did let Zeitler go. He's not that expensive. And you didn't go get someone who fits better. You didn't draft anyone. There wasn't really anyone to sign. I really don't think there was anyone to sign, to be frank. Trade, it's not Madden. I always say trade, it takes 2, whatever. It just, how did it end up being Falele? It just doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. How is it his job still? I just don't get how it's his job to lose. I don't know. I think that, again, I am going to be hesitant to be critical of Eric DeCosta because, sure, Dalton Risner, sure. Yep, there's one. There's one. And there are 32 teams looking for guards, but there's one. Sure, someone who's played some guard. Maybe very bad as well, but I don't know. I haven't kept up on Dalton Risner last year. So there's one. Mekhi Becton, playing great for the Jets. Very similar to Daniel Falele's 6'9", former tackle, but he runs like a 4.7. It's quicker. can get and fucking reach block. I didn't even put any run plays in here. He can't reach block. He can't reach. But Becton is a medical thing, whatever. Becton, sure. But you can't, like, the good plays that the Ravens have running behind Henry, there's nothing. There's no good of Falele. There's nothing good happening. He's not moving guys off the ball. He can't get out in space. He can't reach block. I have never really felt in such a team sport like one guy is that harmful to you winning games ever. And I am very fearful that I'm inciting bad talk of Daniel Falele and people are going to start DMing him, and I don't want that. It's not his fault. I just feel like it is such an abomination what's going on. Am I overreacting? Maybe. Maybe Falele does figure it out a little more in a month. The Ravens are 2-4, and then they can, figure it out. But, I mean, I just spiral, man. Rotating tackles, not running play action, not running the ball. They threw some screens, sure. You can't do screens with him getting out in front. So I don't think they're going to change. I think that this is John Harbaugh getting in his own way. And I think it's as bad as it can be. It's just simple. Let alone, the 2-point or not the timeout shit, whatever. And I said it on the podcast, the Ravens never get blown out. And I think that's why people go insane. They never get blown out. Once every other year, they'll get blown out. And that's the product of John Harbaugh as well. He can run a football team. We're spoiled. I mean, the Ravens are a good team. This is the first time in the Lamar Jackson area he's lost 3 straight starts. 2 of them were to Patrick Mahomes, and one of them you had a lead. While I have you, I would like you to please ask the Ravens, if you're a PSL owner, go fill out your survey and tell them to stop playing Metallica. It's not any heritage of Maryland. It's not our thing. And every time they play Metallica, the Ravens blow a fourth quarter lead, or every other time they play Metallica. So go submit your little survey. Tell them no more Metallica. We're done with Metallica. I'm sorry, Daniel Falele. There's nothing against you. We're done with Daniel Falele. Done with Metallica. No more Metallica. No more Daniel Falele. Let's move forward. Two simple fixes here. No more Metallica. No more. Henry's usage did look great. Loved it. Dan Orlovsky, fuck you. Lying. Oh, the Ravens, it's so obvious. The Ravens are going to run the ball whenever Henry's in the game. Really? So all their big pass plays came with him in the game. Play action of Flowers. Play action of Bateman. They hit Likely on one. Henry himself had a 12-yard reception. Stupidest comment. And that's where we're at. That's why I don't watch that show. And I see it on Twitter. That one pissed me off. It's easy. Easy to find that. So with that, like and subscribe. I'd love to have you on YouTube. Again, we do every Monday. I'm going to make a film video. Did one last Monday. Every Tuesday, we do the jumbo set with some more film. Once we've stepped back, we kind of call that Ravens therapy. Every Thursday, if it's a normal Sunday game, we do a game preview. Those release on Friday morning. And every post game. If it's a 1 o'clock game, we usually do it in the window before Sunday Night Football. Would love to have you. Love to have you on YouTube. If possible, easiest way to support. The views pay us. So we're trying to build this thing up. I'm trying not to go too Stephen A. Smith, but you can tell the title I did here. The Ravens' stubborn personnel choices are costing them games. It's true. So, all right. This isn't true. This is not true. They run screens. They used Henry in a fake fucking toss and threw a touchdown to Zay Flowers. Dan Orlovsky is wrong. Bad Dan. Bad. All right. I'm leaving you guys. Thank you, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this. Cowboys. We'll talk about that moving forward. Okay. Goodbye.